So I'm an adult with autism myself. I was diagnosed at 21 when my little brother was diagnosed in preschool. He's 21 now. I've also worked in the community. I've been a paraprofessional and I've been an employment consultant for individuals with autism. And currently I'm the information and resource specialist for the Autism Society of Minnesota. We don't really have a general makeup of autistic people that come to the Autism Society.
So, like all
Yeah,
ages.
we serve the entire community from birth all the way through end of life. So, like on an average adult support group night, we may have individuals that are 18 all the way to individuals that are 70. We serve people from a variety of cultural backgrounds and economic backgrounds and religious backgrounds. But we're definitely a unique organization in that our doors are open to absolutely anyone whose life is impacted by autism. I like to use the analogy of a Mac computer versus a PC computer. They both are computers, but they process things very differently, and they have a very different interface and system that you work with. And living with autism, it's a little bit like someone handing you a Mac computer but only giving you the PC manual. You're going to struggle. You're going to press a whole lot of wrong buttons, and you're not necessarily going to be able to get the machine to do what you want it to do. So while we have a lot of similarities, we just have a very different processing system that impacts us in socialization or executive functioning or imagination or relationship building. I wish I could say no. I think in a majority of the world that we're living in, people with autism often are treated differently. I don't think people with autism should be treated differently. I think that we definitely often need accommodations or a little bit more understanding, but it doesn't mean that we're not capable people who can do anything we put our minds to, or that we don't want the social relationships. But there is still a lot of social stigma that goes along with that label of autism. And people aren't always necessarily as understanding as I would like them to be about some of the social differences. I have a lot of examples, and I wish I didn't have any. As information resource specialist, I speak to people all day long about so many different things relating to exactly that. There's countless people with autism in the criminal justice system. Because of misunderstood social cues, or because they're easily manipulated by people that are bad influences. There are children in the school systems that are far more likely to be suspended from school for behavioral challenges that are related to sensory processing or being overwhelmed in the schools. Right now, currently, the unemployment rate within the autism community exists around 80%. So, I mean, as a whole, our community is still very marginalized. When we do find those successful niches, it's not the norm. It's been through a lot of orchestration and figuring things out, and a lot of people putting in a lot of effort and work to make it a possibility. And I wish it wasn't that way. Many years ago, I used to work for a call center. And I was the smartest person in my training class. I knew everything in that training manual forwards and backwards, because that's kind of my autism superpower. I memorize everything. And if it's information to be known, I know it. There's a second level job. Like, I started as a customer service rep, and there was a second level job it was all about knowing all the answers. It was about helping the other customer service reps figure out how to solve the problems they couldn't figure out on their own. And I applied for the job like 6 times. I interviewed like 6 times, and I kept getting passed up for this position over and over and over because I couldn't figure out the social roles, because I was weird, because I was strange, because I didn't fit in with my team, and I didn't have friends that I went out with for happy hour. So I wasn't considered a team player or a successful employee on the team. So I just kept getting passed over, even though I was far more qualified, had way better numbers, knew way more information than the people that kept getting hired over me. That's a complicated question. I've seen it portrayed in a lot of different ways. There's definitely some areas of the media that like to portray some of the pieces of autism in a little more lighthearted, laid-back way, like if you think about the shows like Big Bang Theory. Sheldon has never been confirmed as being autistic, but he would meet every single piece of criteria in the DSM. Then there are other shows like The Good Doctor and Atypical. Like The Good Doctor does a little more in the media as far as looking at some of the more realistic struggles and challenges, but it also shows a lot of those struggles and challenges and doesn't necessarily highlight as many of the strengths as I would like it to. Atypical pulls in a lot of the stereotypes, which I think the stereotypes are also important because those are the things that do tend to be more common in autism, but it doesn't mean that everyone with autism goes through those same things. Sesame Street also has an autistic character. Did you know that? They have an autistic Muppet. Her name is Julia. And so they're doing their part to help kids understand. As far as the journalistic side of media, that worries me sometimes when we see a lot of tragedies. A lot of times the word autism gets thrown around, and there's a lot of accusations that people with autism are unpredictable or violent or are more likely to be offenders of things like school shootings. I don't think that's necessarily an accurate portrayal of who we are.
Tied up.
Police say this 18-year-old white man with special needs was tortured live on Facebook for a full 30 minutes.
It's kind of a trifecta, in my opinion. It's kind of the three things that we really focus on here at the Autism Society. The first one that we really need is we need people to be aware that autism exists. And within that autism awareness, understand that every person with autism is a different person. We all have a different experience with autism. It impacts every single person differently. And then acceptance. Understand that, and with that acceptance comes that understanding that even though we're different, even though the socialization, our social skills may not be the same as you, even though our interests may be a little bit bizarre sometimes, we're still really good people. We still want friends. And when you accept our differences and try to figure out who we really are, you're probably going to find someone that's actually pretty cool. And then the last one is appreciation. It's not enough to accept us and say, yeah, I know autism exists. Like, we have some things that we are really, really good at. And when people stop looking at us as the differences, as accepting the differences, and start to appreciate those differences for what we can bring to the table, that's when we get the chance to be really, really successful. Like, I work here, and we are taking a trip, 3 of us, to the Autism Society of America's National Conference in July. I already know every single thing about that schedule for the conference, and we're not even going for 2 months. I've memorized the itinerary. I know exactly where we're staying. I can tell you how long it takes to get from the building where the Congress breakfast is to the Senate House where we have meetings that afternoon. I know all of those things, and I don't have to look it up. I don't have to guess. I don't have to check an email. I just remember it. So, like, for me, someone like me, what I bring to the table that can be appreciated is an intense need to plan things and to have all the details organized. That's a really unique gift in a team setting. Like, no one else has to remember everything because I'm just gonna know and I'm gonna be organized and I'm gonna keep everyone on task and going through the structure that they need to. So it takes a little bit of digging sometimes, but we have a lot of unique talents we can bring to the table. And if the world could just appreciate those, we'd be a lot better off.